Are you okay? You literally take the hardest hits out of anybody I ever seen in my life.
Hey, Qloudy, turn it up.
You know you don't have to do that, right?
You know something? I really like having friends. You don't have any friends. Okay, but did they have to know that? Okay, what was I saying? Oh yeah, I really like having friends. And to be honest, I think a lot of the reason why I think and act the way I do is because I ended up around the right people early on. Something that never really gets talked about with friendships is that we all kind of borrow mannerisms from each other, whether it be a certain behavior, a certain piece of slang, or whatever. The point is, humans are by nature an adaptive species. We change depending on our environment, and I think making friends and picking things up from them is a similar situation. In Mid90s, we follow Stevie, a 13-year-old who, for all intents and purposes, is pretty alone. His brother is really difficult to contend with because of his attitude and predisposition for violence, and his mother, though she seems like she means well, very obviously favors Stevie, and that's part of what drives a wedge between him and his brother Ian. So because Stevie can't really get the connection he needs at home, he spends a lot of time just biking and being outside. And it's at this moment where he encounters who would end up becoming his best friends, and for better or worse, his role models.
Niggas yelling from the stands. Watch what you saying, blowing peanut butter cookie in my cup like jam. Turn to a word, put a dub in your head. You don't wanna work, put some drugs in his hand.
Stevie ends up seeing this group of skaters and becomes extremely infatuated with them. From the very beginning of his time hanging around the skate shop, he was terrified. He didn't want to look like a square in front of them, which to be fair, is kinda standard for a 13-year-old. Nobody likes looking like a square. Except, the thing here is that Stevie doesn't really know how to fit in with this group. Every time Stevie would say something, Ruben would say some shit like,
"Bro, shut the fuck up, you're fucking being a little kid, I fucking play Mario."
And it was because of these jabs from Ruben that in turn made Stevie emulate his new friends instead of just fit in being himself. Which is even sadder when you realize everybody in the group for the most part liked Stevie.
Shit, I like that. That's dope. I like that. I like that.
It seems like they all kind of saw him as this little kid brother, which definitely helped fill the void for Ray, whose younger brother passed away, and for Stevie, whose older brother acted like a tool. The thing that I find interesting about Mid90s is that at times we the audience are almost at odds with this friend group because it's causing Stevie so many issues. And at times Stevie's just being such a little douchebag that you can't help but think, is this friendship really doing anybody any good? But then a scene like Ray and Stevie's comes in and they have this really serious and like honest deep heart to heart, and Ray drops some fucking grown man knowledge to try and steer Stevie in the right direction, and you think to yourself, this could actually be a really beneficial relationship for Stevie. And then the next scene comes in.
Yeah.
In the scene immediately after this really deep and honest heart-to-heart between Stevie and Ray, Stevie and Fuckshit enter the party, and to be honest, they're making it really weird. They're really ruining the vibes. They're blasted out of their minds and they're starting problems, and something about this scene that's particularly striking is that Ray's conversation with Stevie didn't have the effect on Stevie that it had on the audience. Stevie is still trying to be cool and he's emulating Fuckshit to get the status that he's looking for. Now, I want to take this scene to discuss something I kinda touched on at the beginning of the video. Emulating your friends. It's pretty normal to pick things up from your friends because depending on how much you all hang out, those people end up being intrinsic parts of your environment. They end up being part of the reason you are you. In the case of Stevie, he picks up so much stuff from his new friends that Stevie is no longer Stevie. Stevie is like this weird chimera thing, taking traits from everybody and leaving nothing that is Stevie. It's important to realize that if we have to completely change our being to belong somewhere, maybe we don't belong there. Unless you're like a fucking weirdo, then yeah, probably change yourself. In the finale of Mid-90s, everybody gets in a car accident and dies, and then the credits roll. Well, actually, no one died. What ended up happening is that fuckshit decided to try his hand at a little booze cruising and ended up causing a car accident. A car accident that nearly killed Stevie. In the hospital room, he's surrounded by his friends and they all show very real and deep concern for him. Ray starts talking to him and tells him in the most straightforward way possible. He doesn't need to keep trying to be like them. He can just be him. He doesn't have to keep taking these hits to impress them. He can just be Stevie. Mid-90s is a movie that I love, not just because of the cinematography, or the acting, or the vibes, but because I remember what it was like trying to make friends. I wasn't like Stevie, because I was actually cool as fuck. But still, I remember trying to fit into an established friend group and the struggles that came with that. A lot of people may think that Mid-90s is a film about friendship, and they see it more as like this coming-of-age film. I think those people are wrong, and I am right. This movie is more about the realization that you can just be you. Super corny to say, but that's the reality of it. You can just be you. You don't have to pretend to be someone else to fit in. You can just be you. And if you don't fit in, maybe that's not the place for you. But the thing is, just because that isn't the place for you, doesn't mean that there isn't any place for you. The world is big. There's a lot of places. And I guarantee that if you just keep your eyes out, you're gonna find a place that you belong. Hey, thanks for watching this video. Again, I really appreciate it. Past 2 weeks, you guys have been showing a lot of support. I really appreciate that as well. That's really it. I'd appreciate it if you guys liked the video if you did, or dislike it, whatever you want, I guess. You're gonna watch the whole video and then dislike it. Also subscribe. It helps out the channel. It makes me one step closer to dethroning Watch Mojo. I'm coming for you. And yeah, that's pretty much it. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.
What you trying to do, nigga? You still standing here?